Hi, my name is Michelle Mays. I'm doing my final sales presentation on prescription drug addiction in Business 528. Prescription drug abuse is a growing problem faced by millions of Americans. Prescription drug abuse is responsible for the majority of drug overdose deaths each year. According to Centers for Disease Control, overdose deaths from opioid painkillers have quickly become a nationwide drug epidemic. Prescription painkiller overdoses have now surpassed heroin and cocaine as the leading cause for drug overdose deaths. The American Society of Interventional Pain Physicians reports that approximately 120,000 Americans visit the emergency room each year after overdosing on opioid painkillers. Marilyn Monroe, Elvis Presley, and Heath Ledger are all famous icons whose death was due to prescription drug overdoses. What are the most commonly abused prescription drugs? Opioids would take the lead. These are known as prescription painkillers, such as Vicodin and Percocet. Stimulants are also often commonly abused. These are medications that increase energy levels and alertness, such as Ritalin. Stimulants are often associated with side effects, such as increased heart rate, respiration rate, and blood pressure. There are also depressants. Depressants are central nervous system drugs that slow brain function, including sedatives, such as Valium and tranquilizers. Antidepressants are psychiatric drugs that alleviate depression. Examples would include Prozac and Zoloft. The 5 most commonly abused medications are Vicodin, which is an opiate painkiller, producing an euphoric high with intense withdrawal symptoms, which becomes easily daily dependent upon. Oxycontin is a time-release painkiller. Often this is crushed, snorted, or injected for an instant high. Percocet is highly addictive opiate, and prolonged use of this is linked to heart failure. Demerol is an addictive opiate which inhibits pain but is accompanied by intense withdrawal symptoms. And finally, there's Ritalin, which is used to manage attention deficit disorder, but is often used as a substitute for cocaine. There are several signs of prescription drug addiction. Prescription drug abuse can be very difficult to spot, however, as addicts become experts at hiding their addiction. Addiction symptoms include irritability, mood swings, anxiety, withdrawal from friends and family, and euphoric highs followed by lows. Prescription drug abuse is expensive to corporate America. Prescription drug abuse is a pervasive problem in the workplace, challenging employers. The misuse of any drug by workers, prescription or otherwise, leads to lost productivity, absenteeism, injuries, fatalities, theft, and low morale. Prescription drug abuse in the workplace can also inflate health care, legal liability, and workers' compensation costs. It is estimated that drug abuse costs United States employers $81 billion annually. Prescription drugs are the 3rd most commonly abused category of drugs, behind only alcohol and marijuana. About 48 million people have abused prescription drugs in the United States. This represents an astounding 20% of the population. No business is immune from the effects of prescription drug abuse. Overcoming prescription drug addiction requires intense care and aftercare. After successfully completing a residential rehab program, recovery addicts should participate in a prescription drug aftercare program. Aftercare is designed to ease the transition from residential rehab to sober living in a drug-free world. After leaving rehab, many former addicts benefit from the continued counseling and group therapy. Aftercare programs keep patients engaged in the recovery process and accountable for their actions. Strong drug-free workplace programs, comprehensive benefit packages, easily accessible EAPs, and company-wide education are all risk reduction efforts every employer must undertake to help protect the health and well-being of their employees as well as their company's bottom lines. There are 6 key steps for a company to maintain a safe, drug-free work environment they should follow. A. Reevaluate your company's drug policy. Ensure there is a clear, written policy in place. B. Educate employees about the dangers of prescription drug use and misuse. C. Train supervisors so they can act as your company's first line of defense. D. Promote your employee assistance program. E. Include prescription medications in your drug testing program. And finally, partner with your healthcare and workers' compensation insurance provider. Developing a comprehensive policy is, as stated earlier, a key to successfully trying to defeat this nationwide epidemic. Many substance abuse policies merely send the message that the misuse of prescription drugs is not condoned. They outline internal drug testing procedures and spell out potential penalties, but go no further. There is legal value in documenting and communicating policy, yes. However, a strong policy needs to go a couple steps farther. Employees need to know they can seek assistance with an abuse problem without jeopardizing their jobs. Policies should also spell out a company's leave of absence and return to work processes, should they be necessary. Employers should provide wellness programs and employee assistance programs. These programs should include substance abuse coverage that provides screening and therapeutic counseling. Post-treatment maintenance planning for follow-up is recommended to help employees manage the chronic nature of addiction. This is not a one-step cure. Assistance and wellness programs do cost money, but most employers find them to be smart investments. Gillette Company, for example, saw a 75% drop in substance abuse treatment costs after implementing an EAP. Providing treatment options can make a difference. Benefits of treatment for both employers and employees alike include improved employee health and lower healthcare costs for the company, less absenteeism, improved job performance, reduced costs associated with short and long-term disability and workman's comp, and fewer accidents and less corporate liability. Now that I have defined the prescription drug misuse and addiction problems in America today, and given clear representation of the importance of employer involvement in an EAP, I will review 3 primary sales techniques I could use to solicit my program. I will describe each sales format as well as list some advantages and disadvantages of each. Stimulus response sales approach is the first sales approach I'll go over. This is based on research by psychologist Ivan Pavlov. This approach uses a more canned presentation or set script. Basically, the salesperson leads the prospect. Questions are used to encourage a particular response. There are some advantages of the stimulus response approach, such as it ensures that the intended corporate message is conveyed since it is a canned script. Sales training is relatively simple. A disadvantage, however, would be that it requires and encourages very little to no prospect involvement. It's not individualized to the prospect or their specific concerns or issues. Another danger is it assumes canned responses. In the stimulus response method, the salesperson inserts questions within the presentation to encourage a particular response. For example, if I'm trying to sell an organization on developing an EAP on prescription drug abuse, I may follow a script such as the following. Prescription drug abuse has become an expensive nationwide epidemic, hasn't it? Yes. Then I might follow with, if there are risk reduction efforts you could make to minimize prescription drug abuse in your organization, you would want to hear about them, wouldn't you? And hopefully the canned response I would receive would be yes. I would then follow with, isn't it a good idea to develop an EAP to help prevent or treat prescription drug abuse? And hopefully my prospect would reply with, yes, you're right. Please help me do that. The second sales style is the selling formula. This assumes there's a sequence of steps that the buyer must go through before making a purchasing decision. An acronym is used, ADA. A stands for awareness, I for interest, D for desire, and A for action, or the buy. Advantages of the selling formula include that the customer plays a much more active part in the sales process. The salesperson engages the customer in conversation to assess the customer's needs. There's a greater flexibility to direct more effort to the buyer's stage in the sales process. A disadvantage would include it could require a highly skilled salesperson. Buyers do not always move through each stage in a distinct or timely fashion. The final sales method is the needs satisfaction method. This focuses on customer needs. It's a more customer-oriented selling, helping customers achieve their goals and make satisfying purchases. There are 3 basic stages to the needs satisfaction method: needs development, needs awareness, and needs fulfillment. An advantage of the needs satisfaction method is that it promotes customer participation and satisfaction. A disadvantage, again, is that it does require a more highly skilled salesperson. In the needs satisfaction method, if I were to address the first stage, needs development, I would try to identify the problem the customer is trying to solve. In the case of me trying to promote my EAP program, I might ask a question such as, what are the most common reasons that workers go on long or short-term disability leave? Or, like the majority of other corporations are facing, are there issues with employees and prescription drug abuse? Do you have clear drug policies in place? An easily accessible EAP program? And an employee education program in place? Those are just a few of the questions I would ask. In the second stage, needs awareness, I must ensure that the customer recognizes the same needs. I might say something such as, it appears that most employees experiencing addiction issues would benefit from an EAP and continued support. From the data I have gathered, it seems that workers would be receptive to such a program. Finally, the third stage, needs fulfillment, will occur when I begin to highlight available solutions. I might begin the conversation with offering to help them in the task of developing an effective EAP for employees facing prescription drug abuse issues. This third stage is where resolutions are offered and the close occurs.